Tell me that story again about the time that customer really changed your life with a gift they gave you, right?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible and something I look back on as a real profound moment that I didn't know was happening. And it came right at this amazing time where I'd worked at Ford Motor Company on the assembly line for many years, over 5 years. And I was able to get out of the assembly line to be a representative of Ford in the marketing and sales division. My primary job was to call on Ford dealers across various territories. In this case, it was Southern Illinois. When I say call on Ford dealers, I would essentially have to wholesale them cars. And at the time, like, we had way more supply than demand, so you actually had to be a pretty good salesperson to sell these. So I was just learning the ropes. I wasn't necessarily a good salesperson at that time by any means, but I was learning. So I'm driving to Eureka, Illinois. Never even heard of Eureka, Illinois.
It sounds like a very special place. Eureka!
Some beginnings of Ronald Reagan, I believe. That's his
Really?
hometown, yeah. But I'm going to Eureka, Illinois, pull up to this car dealership, pretty small car dealership in the scheme of things. We had what's called in Ford, you had outstate and you had metro divisions, and you kind of get your training wheels on outstate divisions. In this case, outstate Illinois versus like Chicago proper. Chicago proper is going to have a lot more volume,
Right.
a lot more intense. So these are kind of like my training wheels to get into bigger accounts. That said, like, amazing people, amazing dealerships. They sell a lot of cars out there, and I go in there. I meet the dealer principal. His name is Mike Mangold, and we hit it off. And I'm talking to him about myself. I think because I had come from the assembly line and the plant, I had a little bit of street cred and a little bit of respect. Not that my peers didn't have respect, but I had worked at Ford already in a different capacity. So it was
That's something how people connect. Like, they feel it's a value proposition, to put it in that kind of parlance.
They knew, like, I had to work really hard to get to where I was at.
Right. Yeah. And had you ever sold it? Really, you didn't have sales experience before this, or
not really at all.
Did you know anybody that worked in sales, like, in your life otherwise?
Well, my father was in sales, and my family has a history of sales and running businesses, but I didn't sell anything before.
Right.
But I didn't really have training to sell. I just had training to provide logic on why he should take these cars. But then I learned really quickly that selling is about a connection. It's not necessarily about being a fast talker, saying the right things, the right word tracks. It's about, do you feel good about this person? Are they going to have your back on whatever it is you're buying?
Yep.
And even to this day, that's how I judge relationships that I'm going to buy from. Do I have a good feeling about this person on the other end? If I don't, it doesn't matter what I'm buying. I don't want it. So I'm sitting there with this car dealer, very successful in his own right. I think they were going on maybe their 100th year anniversary or something monumental. I think it was leading up to that when I had met him. So have a good meeting, and before I leave, he said, "Have you ever heard of Zig Ziglar?" And I look at him, I'm like, "No, I have no idea. What you're talking about, name sounds cool." And he goes, "I want you to take these." And he hands me not just a CD. Now this is, there's no digital media really, at least in cars at the time. I know there was, things I was streaming at Napster on my computer at home.
Sure. This is when we had the little binders that fit under the
Yeah,
seat,
exactly.
or the visor slips.
So he hands me this box of CDs, and it's from Zig Ziglar, and it's this older gentleman that looks really put together, like a Southern gentleman on the cover. All right, I take him, I drive off, and I just kind of throw him to the side, grab coffee, and don't really think about it until half hour into my drive home, and I'm like, man, I have 3 hours ahead of me to get to Chicago from where I'm at. So I put in one of the CDs, and I'm listening to it, and Zig Ziglar, for those of you who don't know, he's an inspirational speaker, for lack of better words. He's a very amazing salesperson, but can put things in context around character, around how to get things in life that you want. I'm in the car. I put in the CD, and Zig says these profound words. I'm actually going to read them from my phone because I want to get it so succinct on how he said it, because I believe it's really powerful. He said, "You can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want." So if you think about that, you can have everything in life that you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And it was such an amazing time to hear that, because here I am. I have this amazing opportunity at Ford Motor Company in the marketing sales division, coming off working on the assembly line. And I needed some like external forces to guide me a bit. And here I am getting from the car dealer who's my customer. And at that moment I was like, I'm just going to help my boss and my region look as good as I can. And I believe that will help me. And sure enough, that's what happened. It's like I went back, I put my head down, and I was like, okay, I think I called my supervisor when I got back, or maybe even on the way. There was cell phones then. And they're bigger. They're Blackberries, I think.
Plugged into the car, I think, right?
And I was like, hey, what else can you need? What else can I help you with? And it really changed my mindset on how you should deal with superior, how you can get ahead in life. But you also have to do it in a way where you don't expect it. That's the caveat. Meaning you don't do something and then like a day later you're like, hey, can I have a raise now? Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't.
You don't expect anything in return.
Yeah, it's not a quid pro quo thing. Like it's not this for that. It is truly, I'm just gonna make you look good. If I'm a pain in your ass every week, like I'm not making you look good because I'm sucking your time. But I took that concept and I applied it to really everything. And that changed my life in so many ways that I look back and I'm like, everything that I did or I got to where I am today by trying to help others get what they want. And even that creating Go Brewing is very similar in that, like, we're creating a product to help others get what they want, and that is to reduce their dependency on alcohol, to make healthier choices in their life. Not necessarily completely abstain. It's whatever you want to do, but it's like, if we can help you get what you want, then, you know, that's an amazing business to be in if we can help folks. So in every facet of my life, now that I look back, because I do believe the dots connect backwards in everything that you do, I go back to really the starting point of getting that CD, and I could map all of the amazing things that happened since when I embraced that mentality.
And embrace it and put it into practice is what you're saying too. Not just, hey, I learned this thing, I should think about it. It's wisdom to know versus a way to be. Like you said, pick up the phone, call your boss, to be of service deliberately.
Yeah, 100%. I also look at employees that I have, and the ones that embrace that same mindset are the ones that are a joy to be around, and the ones that, like, I just see going places well beyond, like, where I can take them, like, through this company. So I would highly suggest that putting the lens in your life on how can you help others without something in return, and just doing it over time will pay dividends in a big way.
Yeah. Do you recall, like, why you decided to put in that CD? You know, like, you barely knew this guy who gave you this stuff. No, thanks, whatever. I'll throw it on the, you know, and then go on to something else versus, no, you know what? I'm going to listen to it right now.
I don't know if it was intentional. I don't remember exactly, to be honest with you. I think it might have been boredom. Like, it might have been like, I have 3 hours. There's nothing to stream on the radio. You're listening to the same CDs you have. It's like, here's something different. But by trying something, or by accepting someone's generosity and taking a chance at putting that CD in alone is a lesson in itself, that don't dismiss things that could be so profoundly impactful to your life that you think they're little and meaningless. Like, all these little things have meaning. The challenge is, like, when you recognize that and when you embrace it, and the more opportunities you take to open your eyes to these things, better off I think you're going to be in general.
That to me seems like such an important, accepting the generosity, I think that's what you said, but of something that's new. Like, if he had given you something that you were aware of or had before, it might have still had meaning, but because it was new, right? And you accepted the newness and the uncertainty of what is this thing, but put some trust in the fact that he must have given this to me for a reason, you know, as a gift.
Maybe he's just trying to clean it up, clean out his closet. I don't think that was the case. I think it was something that was sacred to him that he wanted to pass along, but it doesn't matter. Like, what matters is the fact that he gave me this thing and I put it in with kind of, like, I wouldn't say like a negative attitude, but a neutral attitude. I wasn't expecting much from it. And I left with this life-changing experience.
Yeah. A super quick aside, because I know you'll appreciate it. I read The Third Door by Alex. There's a part of that story where he first goes with the guy that ends up being his mentor, because, like, hey, we're going to Europe tomorrow, you know, come with us. And he's like, I don't know, I should, you know. It's so easy in that situation to have an instinct to say no because it's so uncertain what's going to happen, right? And so Alex wrestles with it, and then he goes, and it ends up being this thing. But that night when he's falling asleep, the mentor guy, says, "Hey, are you still awake?" And at that point, Alex is like, "I'm just too tired. I just pretended I was asleep." And then they were all sleeping in the same room, and the guy says to his brother, "He's one of us." And I feel like, I don't want to speculate too much, but that you said you had a connection with Mike Mangold, that he was probably like, Joe's going to appreciate this gift in a way that maybe some other people wouldn't. And it could do a lot for him in ways that it might not for somebody else. And understanding that and seeing that in somebody is also his kind of proactive act of helping other people get what they want without maybe didn't even know that you wanted it at that point.
And what's funny about that is I've written about that moment. We're talking about it now. And he also had no idea like how much it would inspire me and how much I've talked about it and since. And he remembers giving that to me, which is kind of cool too, because now it's many years ago, over 20 years ago.
Was there another part of this story that had to do with like Ford execs or something showing up for this?
Yeah, so fast forward 6 months, I end up circling back to the same dealership because the CEO of Ford is going to visit for their 100th anniversary. And I remember thinking like, wow, how is the CEO of Ford coming to this small town in Eureka? Now, mind you, there is thousands of Ford dealers. Like the CEO just can't go to all the anniversaries. So how and why did he pick this? So we had to, as the region, we had to represent taking care of the CEO when he came in, and that means like private plane comes in, we had to make sure we pull up. There's no Ubers or anything like that, or there's no livery drivers. So we pull up in a nice SUV that's perfectly polished, obviously a Ford, and pick up the CEO and drive him there. And we had to like practice it. Like we had to get there early. We had to practice the route and everything. And I just remember thinking like, this is a colossal waste of time. But I get it. Like you should be polished. And I guess like you should practice that. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, whatever. Anyway, we get the CEO there and, Mike gives this amazing speech, Mike Mangold, the CEO talks and he goes off stage. And I have a few moments with Mike and I ask him, how did you get the CEO to come here? And he goes, I just asked. And I just smiled and I was like, what do you mean you just asked? He goes, I just called him up and asked him if he wanted to go. And then I think he asked again, like 2 or 3 more times. And they said, yeah. And it just goes to show you in life, like things don't happen unless you put forth the effort and put yourself out there.
Do you ever think about that act of inviting somebody as a kind of gift-giving gesture? Like clearly there was a benefit to Mike in that dealership to have these Ford execs show up. But the flip side of that is also that he's giving them an opportunity to show up, right? There's a, presumably a kind of benefit to them in some ways, but it's this gesture of let me provide an opportunity for you to help others. That's part of the Zig Ziglar framing.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think there is way more for Mike to gain there than the execs, though it did look really good for them to be there, but it's just such a small audience, right? Like, and which is another really good testament to Ford and the leadership for even coming out, because it goes to show you that they made his 100th year anniversary so much more special.
Do you think about that Ziegler quote in terms of more as practical sales advice, like be of service to people, help them solve the problems that they have, and it'll come back to you transactionally? I know you said you don't do it because you're expecting a return.
It is.
Or is it also more of a karmic kind of?
I think it's 100% great sales advice. Living life, you shouldn't do it like a quid pro quo thing. But as a salesperson, you always have to look at it as like, what is in it for the other party? Like even when we put together decks now, whether it's an investor deck or it is a presentation, right now we're building our annual business plan for our distributors. And I go through the slides, and each slide I'm like, okay, what's in it for them? What's in it for them? What's in it for them? And oftentimes you see pitches, and no offense, because I was guilty of this. I haven't done it in many years, but the first 5 slides are about you.
Yeah.
It's like, here's my team. It's like, no one gives a shit. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like, how are you going to help me?
Yeah.
And if you don't start with that, and I remember just on a like quick side note to wrap this up, I was doing my first distributor meeting and I had to pitch an incentive. So I'm following the playbook that my head of sales gave me, and you go through the whole pitch, and at the very end is the incentive. And I get done and I'm like, man, that was such a missed opportunity. And the reason why is because if I started with the incentive,
Sure.
it would have cut everyone's attention
Yeah.
because I'm giving them what they want.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there telling them everything about our product. And they're like, great, great, great. Another vendor, great, great, great. And then at the end, I'm like, and by the way, you get this. Now, I don't even know if they listen to the first 90% of it. They listen to the 10%, and they probably wish they listened to it.
Right.
So it's how you frame things, too, and
Yeah.
the sequencing. And I think since then, we've done it. And I came back to them. I was like, dude, we got to start with this. Like, it's powerful. It gets their attention, gives them what they want. And now you lean in, and now you tell them how to get there.
Yeah.
And that's true, I think, in any sales role. If you're able to do that, you're going to be successful.